This is not only human delusion. They have been acting on it. It's a legislation. Many out there believe that Allah gave them the authority to punish the Jewish people. First, Allah chose the Jewish people. It was His chosen ones. But for disobedience, Allah wanted to punish the Jewish people. And now the Muslims functioning as the sword of Allah on earth to punish the Jewish people and all the non-Muslims who don't submit to Islam. This is the Islamic law.
The reality is, today they're after the Jewish people. Today they want to annihilate Israel. But after that, they're coming after the Christians, the Buddhists, the Hindus. They made it very clear that this is just the beginning. They want global rule with Islam. We need to understand that and recognize that that is an immediate threat of today's generation.
I'm nothing but eyewitness. And it looks like many people want to decide on behalf of the children in the Middle East without listening to the children, without listening to a child of that conflict. It's not important to have someone who have lived it, to provide first-hand experience and information, so when they make their decisions on our behalf, on behalf of the children in the Middle East, they don't make mistake. For example, by funding criminals for decades from the public money that has been advancing terrorism and chaos that brought us to this low point of destruction and barbarism. And of course, none of them would take responsibility. They want to sit in comfort and decide on behalf of this generation and the next generations. It's not important for them to come and take a seat for half an hour and listen. But what can we do? This is part of this war, a war of narratives. And there is only one truth. But many have been compromised by the Qatari money, and yes, by the Qatari money, the Arab oil money, the Muslim money. And they have been serving many masters. When they serve many masters, this means that they have no truth. I was born back in 1978. I was only 10 years old when the first Palestinian Intifada started. My father was one of the founders of Hamas. And my family taught me that I was Palestinian. But they never said why I was Palestinian. Like today, millions of people believe to be Palestinians as an ethnic group, but in reality, they are not. And we have tens of millions around the world who say free Palestine, while in reality, Palestine never existed, except as a colonial entity against the indigenous of the land. I'm not saying that there were no Arabs in that region, but for some reason, Arabs were allowed to take their caravans from every destination in Arabia with no political borders to come and profit from the British mandate of Palestine. But the Jews who had to go through the Holocaust and the ethnic cleansing on the hands of Ottoman Empire for approximately 400 years, then the ethnic cleansing in Europe, then the Holocaust, they did not have the right to take the boat and escape the hell of Nazism to come and find a safe place where they could survive. This is a crime. It's colonialism. But for all the Arab and Muslim invaders who came to profit, who did not have any connection to the land, that was legitimate. So I was supposed to believe that I am a Palestinian. But what makes a Palestinian, nobody has the answer. What makes the Palestinian different than the Egyptian or the Jordanian? It's not a human race. It's not a distinct language. It's not a religion. It is nothing but a violent ideology that was established as a hostile movement to annihilate the Jewish people from that land. The continuous Islamic, and I insist to say Islamic, attempt to kill the Jewish people. And that brings us to the ideological dimension that many of us are in denial. Why? Because we have 2 billion Muslims around the world and we don't want to piss them off. So most of us stick our head in the sand in denial. While it's in the Quran, it's in the Hadith, that it's an Islamic belief based on the Islamic most trusted sources, that the end times will not come and the Mahdi, that's the savior of the Muslims, will not return until the Muslims annihilate all the Jewish people, not only in Israel, but worldwide. This is not only human delusion. They have been acting on it. It's a legislation. Many out there believe that Allah gave them the authority to punish the Jewish people. First, Allah chose the Jewish people. It was His chosen ones. But for disobedience, Allah wanted to punish the Jewish people. And now the Muslims functioning as the sword of Allah on earth to punish the Jewish people and all the non-Muslims who don't submit to Islam. This is the Islamic law. And all those who try to sell the West a peaceful version of Islam, they are liars and they are lying. And their claim is baseless. Okay, this is too controversial, and I did not come here to say things about Islam, but this is very important to understand as a foundation of this conflict. Because if we really want to find a solution, then we need to understand the dimensions of the conflict. And the ideological dimension of this conflict is the most significant one, in my humble opinion. This is how I was conditioned. As a Muslim, then as a Palestinian, and I think both identities are false. They stole our individuality as children. We were born free, children of earth, children of the divine. And they gave us false identity. They said, you're a Palestinian now. Fight for this identity. It's so important to you. And who created this? A con artist from Egypt, born in Egypt, with an Egypt accent. His name Yasser Arafat, a global terrorist who wanted to globalize the Intifada and hijack commercial airplanes and blow up athletes at Munich Olympics. And we can go on and on of the Palestinian global terrorism as a mean for political and financial gain. He never been there. No evidence. With the Egyptian birth certificate. And this is the father of the Palestinian revolution. The most corrupt revolution on earth that does not have concern towards the Arab or the Jewish children in that region. Please notice, my ethnicity is not Palestinian. We are Arabs of Judea and Samaria. That's an ethnic group. This is ethnicity. But Yasser Arafat did not want us to go to school. This is why, when the first Palestinian Intifada started back in 1987, the masked men used to come to our school and ask us to leave, to go to the checkpoints and throw stones at the Israeli army. Because for Yasser Arafat, it was very clever to pay a handful of masked men, we didn't know who they were, to come to school and send children to the checkpoints to get shot, or at least to confront an Israeli tank with a rock. This image attracted the globe and attracted so many people to see the bravery of a child throwing a rock at a very advanced weapon. So many people sympathize with Yasser Arafat and his movement. They funded Yasser Arafat. And Yasser Arafat got addicted to power, to fame, to money, to prestige, and now this became his game. He assassinated his political rivals. He self-appointed, or he appointed himself as the leader of the revolution. And he built billions of dollars. Where did that come from? The Arab oil money and the European countries who funded him to try to silence him. This is the game. The more money you give this corrupt revolution, the more they will sacrifice children. Not only Jewish children, but also Arab children. And of course, people in the West cannot understand a culture that is willing to sacrifice its own children. But I'm a living example. When my father had to choose between his ideology, between his hypothetical Allah that he is worshipping and his son, he chose the cause to maintain and protect his public image that he has invested more than 60 years in falsehood, false identity of a Palestinian, of an Islamist. This is not who I am, and it's a choice to know my roots as a child of the divine, as a child of the universe, as a child of earth. That today I choose the highest interest of humanity, not the interest of the tribe. That this is Palestinian, etc. Who cares? And how many children are they willing to sacrifice for this sick ideology? And today we have so many sellouts in the West who scream out loud, "Free, free Palestine," forsaking the hostages. Naturally, when we have a hostage situation, humanity should get united to say, "Free the hostages," the most logical thing. They represent all of us. They're just civilians that they have been kidnapped from their backyards, from their living rooms. Infants, children, elders, Holocaust survivors, Muslim farmers from a liberal community that actually believed in coexistence and peace. And the entire world suddenly got united behind a concept. They choose a concept over humanity. It's so obvious that our crisis is bring the hostages and save the children from those who have hijacked the entire society and booby-trapped one of the most populated areas in the Middle East to kill civilians for political and financial gain. But for some reason, many of us are confused, and we have been choosing an ideology, a concept over humanity. And of course, they have been posing as they have the higher moral ground. They all speak on behalf of the children, of the victims of this conflict. Well, how can you be speaking on behalf of the children, but in the meantime, you haven't condemned Hamas? On one hand, they support the resistance. They claim that this is a legitimate resistance against occupation. But we tell them there was never Palestine. It was never as a country. It's not a people. And if there is no such thing, how can it be occupation? Usually you occupy something that is a country, that is an ethnic group, that is a nation. But what, you occupy something in the air, a concept that never existed? In fact, Israel fought against colonialism. They paid in blood the bills, and they earned their independence back in 1948. Only the Jewish people fought against colonialism. And prior to the British, they were the Ottoman Empire, which basically invaded the entire region. And that's it. There is no Palestine in between. A colonial entity that existed from 1918 to 1947 or 1948. That's approximately 25 years of a lifespan. So why the what so-called Palestinians believe that they have they have inherited such entity? Well, the Jewish people also were called Palestinians during that time. All the residents of that region had a Palestinian passport. Druze, Christian, Arabs, Jews, all ethnicities. So what makes now only the Arabs unique to this identity? It's madness. And so many people are believing, so many believers. This is what we are dealing with. So they inverted the narrative. And we don't need to look way back in the past. We can just look into our lifetime. Since October 7. Savages. They broke the fence. They went into peaceful communities. They wiped out more than 20 peaceful communities based on their religion and based on their ethnicity, based on their race. And that's the very definition of a genocide. Genocide is not defined by head counts. To say, let's say, if we kill more than 5,000 people, this becomes a genocide. No, genocide is defined by why the people have been killed. And the only people who were killed based on their religion and ethnicity are the Jewish people on October 7. The victims in Gaza, they are not being killed because of their religious or ethnic background. It's a collateral damage because of the lack of responsibility of their government. For all those who claim to say what's happening in Gaza is a genocide based on the head count, they are contradicting the dictionary and the reality. Israel has been doing everything within their ability to minimize the civilian casualty by giving people 2 weeks in advance, revealing the military plans. Evacuate this area while the terrorists evacuate with the civilians, dressed up like women, like civilians. It's very obvious for any person with intelligence to see that the terrorists have been trying to maximize the civilian casualty. Then they did not stop there. They exaggerated and they lied about the statistics. Then humanitarian organizations, the United Nations, the European Parliament, everybody considered the Hamas narrative and the Hamas lie as a source. They haven't been on the ground. They did not count the numbers. They don't have the birth certificates or the death certificates. But somehow they reached the point of saying 40,000 casualties. But even if that was true, why are they surprised? In the most populated area, when terrorists hijacked schools, hospitals, mosques, churches, every sacred zone, they did not leave the civilians even with one safe zone to go. And since the beginning of the war, I said evacuate the civilians. Pressure Egypt to open the border so the most vulnerable civilians can evacuate and we go in and eradicate this cancer, because we cannot afford another Gaza war. This is not the first Gaza war. It's the fifth. And every time the terrorists sacrificed civilians, we rewarded them with what? With money and power and legitimacy. So every war they came back stronger. And this last war, they doubled down, they tripled down on this evil practice. And now they are expecting from the West, from the free world, to come on its knees and beg them, please don't hurt more children and we will give you whatever you want.
Mossab Hussein Yosef Wow. You are one brave human being. You are truly a blessing to the world. And we salute you for your bravery, for your ability to articulate and to say the words that need to be spoken. You were born to one of the founders of Hamas. You are the firstborn. You are being groomed to be a Hamas member. Yet, you had the ability to break ranks and to leave the life that you grew up in, that you were being groomed to. Sadly, you were disowned by your parents, the many death threats you have been through. Yet that did not stop you from coming to Israel and America and the world and talking through the mouthpiece of Hamas. Your bravery, your heroism will always be saluted and welcomed. We love what you have to say. We appreciate it because sometimes the world doesn't get it. They just don't get it. In the 1930s, the rise of the Third Reich, 1920s, 30s, when Hitler began his rhetoric, the world didn't really listen to him or believe him. The world was too preoccupied with its own survival. And yet, look what happened. Look between World War I and World War II, how it led up to World War II, and how Hitler and the Third Reich, with their global reach to radicalize and change the world, was so close to doing that. The genocide they committed on the Jewish people was just the beginning. The Jewish people was a targeted group. And he succeeded to kill 6 million of us. We were 15 million, at the time. He succeeded to kill 6 million of us. A third of us were killed, burnt, gassed, the worst type of barbaric, very similar to what we saw on October 7 just a couple of years ago. Sadly, to fathom, understand, how can human beings do that to another human being? It's just beyond our comprehension. But that being said, what Mossad is telling us, that we are faced with the exact same threat. As long as they continue to believe in a theology that's a death cult, then we have a bigger problem on our hands. As Muslim being the largest, the fastest growing religion currently, their numbers are growing, and that becomes a threat to our life as well. Unless we in the West have to mobilize ourselves and work together and find ways to change this ideology, they're going to be a threat not just to the Jewish people, which is the number one on the list, because the next goes the Christians, then the Buddhists, and the Hindus, and all the other religions that are out there. They're looking for the Arab Caliphate, and they're not shy about it. They're not secretive about it. They want to rule the world with Islam, Sharia law. And as Bibi Netanyahu said, the war Israel is fighting, it's fighting the war for you. If Israel does not eradicate this evil death cult, then it's going to show up at a neighborhood near you. Guess what happened a couple days ago in Washington, D.C., when this Afghan announced Allah Akbar and shot and killed 2 National Guardsmen, innocent, beautiful American citizens, volunteered to help protect and serve, was shot and killed in the name of Allah Akbar. If we do not begin realizing that this is a worldwide threat, then we're back to the beginning of World War II, where we were with Hitler. So let's pray and hope that as we approach a 250th anniversary of the United States of America, that we realize everything our ancestors, our pilgrims, our founding fathers sacrificed for is the type of a freedom that was worth fighting for, that we should not squander away and allow to be bullied back to the 8th century. God has blessed us with so many gifts of the 21st century. We cannot squander those gifts away. We need to embrace them, be grateful for them, and moving forward and learning how to coexist. We have nothing against the Muslims or the Muslims' religion. They are entitled to belief in a theological system that fulfills their spiritual needs, as long as it's not about killing and murdering and destroying other people's lives. Stay in your lane, stay in your religion, do whatever you want to do, pray 5 times a day, fast during Ramadan, do whatever you want to do. That's okay. We respect you, we love you, but do not kill us because we don't believe what you believe in. Don't murder our children, don't murder innocents, people who are living on the border of Israel just because they don't accept your religion. It's okay. Not everyone has to follow the same religion. There's no God that ever existed. There's no prophet that ever existed that wants death and bloodshed and murder and terrorism in their name. So let's listen to Mossab and consider coming together and fighting our enemy who's trying to destroy our freedoms. We worked too hard to get here. We're not going to let it go. And God willing, God will not let it go as well. We are at the brink of the crack of dawn, of seeing better times with the revelation of the Messiah, as prophesied in Isaiah, that he made it very clear, Isaiah 53, that God will send us the Messiah, a human being, who is going to change the world order. Where there's not going to be any more hunger, any more illnesses, no more jealousy. The world is going to live in peace. Even the animals are going to be in peace. Well, that time hasn't come yet. So until that time comes, we're awaiting the Messiah and we're praying for the Messiah. Many religions, they say the Messiah has arrived, but yet the world is still in chaos. The world, according to Isaiah, the prophecy, when the Messiah arrives, is not going to be in chaos anymore. It's going to be total world order, a new world order, one that we can't imagine. There's not going to be any more jealousy, any more war, any more hatred, any more illnesses, a utopia type of a world, but it's going to happen. It's in our prophecy. We are at the darkest moment at the crack of dawn. So let's just pray to God to send the Messiah now. Literally scream to God, say, we want the Messiah now. And that happens. My rabbi, Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson, the founder, the leader of the Chabad movement here in America since 1950, has declared on CNN, one of his last interviews, the way to bring the Messiah is for random acts of goodness and kindness. Let's all do goodness and kindness. A little bit of light pushes away a lot of darkness. Kindly subscribe to our channel so a little bit of light will push away a lot of darkness. God bless you. God loves you.